Hi everyone, welcome back. We have covered almost a stable framework now. We can go ahead and start creating more tests. But before that, we are providing this data from hard coded values like this. Okay. Again, you can generate this with the help of Faker, and then you can feed these values. But in our case, we want to drive it from our Excel sheet or JSON files or CSV files. We have already seen how to read from an Excel file. But the problem with Apache Poi is, okay, you need to write a lot of code. Right? You need to run a lot of loops. There are chances that you can make mistakes. And one of the biggest problem is all the values you have to get it as a string, and then you have to convert into integer or whatever the values you want, right? But there is a brilliant library other than Apache Poi, which almost 99.9% people don't use, but I use to read from Excel. So we're gonna see about two interesting libraries today, and then we'll see how it can help us to resolve our problems. Okay. So the problem is, instead of we writing the code ourselves, we will leave it to a library to do the coding for us. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. For that first one, we need is, let's go here and then let's search for test data supplier. Okay. Maven dependency, and then I can go here. You need to get the latest version. Only in the latest version, the support is included. So let's copy this. And then let's put it here. So and then reload the project. So test data supplier is a wrapper for your test ng data provider. Okay. Instead of data provider, we are going to use data supplier. Okay. So let it download. In the meantime, if you notice, in order to use this library, maybe we will create a simple class. Okay. Test data supplier test whatever, supplier test whatever. Okay. Maybe data supplier test whatever, and then I'll create a main method. And here what I'm going to do is basically, sorry, we can use, so I create a test method because we want to use a data provider, right? So let's say this is data supplier test. And here what I'm going to do, if I want to use data provider, what we do is still data provider equal to, say, data provider name, right? But instead of data provider, what we are going to do is public void get data and @ data supplier. Okay, not data provider. This time we are going to use data supplier from the library that we have added. That is the only change. Okay, everything else will remain, it keeps working the same way. The advantage with using this library is, okay, in case of data provider, your return type should be object array or two-dimensional object array or object array, right? It was little problematic, right? We have to store everything into two-dimensional object array or object array or iterator of object array, which I'm not going to cover, but you have a restricted return types. But in case of data supplier, it is very easy, right? You can return with anything. Okay, this can automatically convert that in order to feed your test. For example, if I want to run this test with an integer, let's say string value of username, just username I want to pass with, I want to run this test with 3 different set of users. Then what I can do, I can simply tell arrays dot as list, and I want to run with first one, I want to run with Tamudan, second one I want to run with testing, and I also want to run with Selenium, something like this. Okay, then this will automatically taken care. Okay, return. Okay, now I can change the return type. So yeah, now we are returning list of string and we are not returning object array. Okay, now we are returning list of string. But this data supplier is very smart. It can automatically understand. It will feed this. So let's say I want to do S out of the username, and let's try to run the test. See, it is running 3 times with these three set of values, but here the return type is like this, right? If it is a normal case, if we use data provider, again, we need to convert this value into an two-dimensional object array. We need to put each array and all that. So it is a lot of work, but this one is really advantage. But apart from this, it also has inbuilt way to read from different files. Okay, it can read JSON, CSV, YAML, and Excel. Okay, you can read from all these files automatically. So you don't have to use file input stream, all that. Okay, let's go here and we will remove the Apache POI. Okay, or you can anyway, it will download it for us. So let's also what we are going to do, we are going to read from an Excel sheet. So I need an Excel sheet. What I do, I go to this particular folder, open in Explorer, and then I create one here. Okay, new Excel sheet. Okay, we want to, sorry, this is an office document. This data, I think it's enough. And we will edit this. Let's say my test case name is basically is title validation test, right? Let's keep the first title validation test is a test case name, and then the first data is, let's say, UTHAN is the username, and password is something like this, or maybe we'll give the real username. This is a real username, right? See, and for the same test case, I want to run it with different value. Let's say admin 1 2 3 4 5. This is what we do, right? Data provider is used to run the same test case with multiple set of test data, right? Here we have two. Maybe I'll also add header. Let's say this header is basically test case name, username, password. Okay, if you want to add more values, you can also add here. Okay, but for now it's more than enough. Let's say I also have dummy test, and let's say this. Okay, so my intention is only to run title validation test with these two values, not this value. Okay, you may also have a lot of other test cases. Okay, but we are going to match. If the test case name is matching here in this one, then we are going to run it. Okay, that's how our intention is. Okay, we are not going to run all of the data. So that's what we are going to do. Now, so as I told, this comes with the default thing to read from Excel. We are not going to use Apache POI directly, but this library will internally use Apache POI. Okay, but we are not going to use file input stream, for loops, and all that. It's going to be really simple. What we are going to do is test data reader. Okay, there is a class called test data reader which can help to read external files. Okay, this is coming from the library that I added. Dot use is the method that we are going to use. What is the type of reader? We want to read with Excel sheet, right? So we can tell Excel SX reader. Okay, dot class. Okay, we are going to use this, and okay, so you are going to read it where you want to target it. Okay, where you want to target it. So this is almost similar to our owner library. For each of the property files values that we have, what we did for each of these, what we did, we have basically created a Pojo, and then we created like this, right? The same way we need to create a Pojo here. So let's go here, create a class inside this data package, and let's name this class as maybe test data. Okay, something like this. And what I'm going to do is for each of the values. So let's say this test case name is of string value, right? So this is string value. So I can just tell public string user name. Sorry, test case name first. Test case name, and then public string. We have username, public string password. Okay, but if you have also numbers, you can also add that. For example, I can also add numbers here. Number is, let's say, I can add some age. Okay, age is 20, 25, 30, whatever. So these are all some of the test data. Again, guys, this is not a string value, this is an integer value. But in case of Apache POI, we need to read it as a string. And then we need to convert it to integer ourselves. But here, we're going to directly tell there is something called as public int and then age. That's it. Okay. Now this will automatically take care. Okay. But we need to tell in which index this is located. Okay. The test case name is located in 0th index, right? This is 0th index, first index, second index, third index, right? So we just need to tell at the rate index. This is basically, just a minute, default value. Yeah. So this is coming from row number column, at the rate column. So the column name is basically you can give, but the index is basically 0. Okay. And it's also telling add missing parameter name. So I want to use test case name, but it has to exactly match here. Okay. So I can copy this, test case name and give here. The column name is this. Okay. And I can, in the program, I'm going to use this. Okay. So same way I have to annotate all these things. Okay. There is a column. Okay. And the name of the column is username, name equal to username, because see, I have to give this because in this annotation, they have made this as a mandatory parameter. Okay. And then index is basically, this is in first index. Okay. The same way at the rate column, name equal to password, name equal to password, and index equal to 2, right? And at the rate column, name equal to age, right? And index equal to 3. And also, if you notice, by default, it will take it as a string, no problem. But if you want to convert from string to integer, you can just tell converter class. Okay, there is something called as converter class, and here you can just tell this is converting from int, right, string to integer. So int converter. Okay, there will be int converter. So if you notice, there is something called as integer converter. Okay, from the 0 cell library, just click on this dot class. So what it does is it converts it for you. You don't have to type string integer dot parse int and then pass the string value. It will do the conversion and it will give you as a integer, the age value as a integer. Okay, so it will do the conversion for you. Okay, just by adding this, it will do the conversion for you. Now let's go to the data supplier test, and we will tell whatever the files that you are reading from the Excel, just map it to the class that we have created, the test data dot class. Okay, and where is this file is located? This file, so this one I have to import. So I'll just tell import class. Where is this file is located? This file is located inside SRC test resources. If it is inside SRC test resources, then you can directly tell testdata.xlsx. Okay, if it is in other location, you have to give the path exactly. But inside test data, okay, inside resources folder, you can directly give. That's how these guys have created. Okay, once you all happen, then read this. Okay, very simple. Now let's return. So you don't have to worry about what is the stream, but all you just need to understand is first time it will return this whole value. Second time it is return this whole value. Third time it is return this whole value in the format of this POJO. Okay, it will read line by line. It will validate whether it will map it to this test data POJO. Okay, this is the test data POJO. Whatever the values there in the Excel sheet, first it will copy this and it will put it in this value. It will copy this, it will put it to this value. Same way, it will copy the password and age and it will put it into this value and this value. Okay. Once this test data is ready, it will basically return you back that particular test data. Okay. Now let's go here and let's try to run it. Okay, because we want to check whether this is let's say this is running, but this is basically returning your test data, right? The entire test data itself. So we need to tell we're getting test data. If you want to get username, you need to tell test data dot get the username. Okay, for now we are directly accessing the variable. You can also make it as a private and then expose the getter method. Okay, let's try to run it and to check whether this is working. So guys, if you notice, every time it is basically returning you, all these test data values. Okay, and if I print the username, it is printing correctly. So 3 values is there in the Excel, and it is running 3 times. So the test is basically working fine. Okay, now we know how to read from an Excel. We can basically use this into our code. Okay, so let's copy this same code. Let's copy this. Let's copy this whole code. Let's go to the home page test that we are using. Let's put it here. Okay, everything else is looking fine. Now I can basically remove the unused imports. Now this particular test that we want to run have to run 3 times. Okay, but our intention is to run this only 2 times, because this title validation test is basically okay, having 2 set of test data. So you should not run a test case with a different test data that is applicable for another test case. So that is wrong. So it has to run only 2 times. So what can I do? Okay, then I can simply say filter. Okay, I can say filter. Okay, there are 3 values. What I want to filter, I want to filter if the test case name, this test case name is basically matching. Okay, I'll copy. So what I can tell, for every time I'll get I'll get a test data. Okay, in this test data, I want to check whether the test data dot username dot equals ignore case of this particular value, right? Okay, if it is matching, then only you return it. Okay, guys, understand? So we are reading all the 3 values. After that, I'm going to filter. Okay, we have now 3 values with us. Okay, I'm going to filter with the condition. You take each and every data. You take and analyze each data. If the test case name is matching the title validation test, then only you return to the test method. Okay, then what happens? The 3, after this filter, it will become 2 values, because one is not matching. Okay, so for each of the, so it will, the streams are something like, it is like a stream of river. The data will continuously flow into it. We are trying to filter. Okay, uh, whatever the data that is coming in, we are checking whether the name is equal to title validation test. Okay, good. Now let's try to run it, and then let's see what's happening. So we want to run the testng.xml. Before that, we will close the Excel file as well, and let's try to run it. Now it should run 2 times. This particular test alone should run 2 times. Okay. So basically the payment test is alone getting executed, and this is not getting executed because let's see what's happening. So because we are telling it's a get data, this is correct. And dear, okay, data supplier is correct. And why it's not running? Mm, this is not needed. So you can go to settings and inspections, and you can search for data provider. See, these are all telling warnings, right? Just telling the warnings and all that. So you can disable these warnings. Okay, I don't need to show these warnings. Okay, for these data providers. apply and okay. Now this warning is gone, but it should basically take this into consideration. Are we missing something? Hmm, data supplier is correct. Okay, the only problem that we did is we have to change this to test data, test data, right? Because all these values will be fed in the form of test data. So if I want a username, I need to tell test data dot username. Password, if I want, I need to tell test data dot password. If I want, again, I cannot get the expected title here. If you want the expected title, you need to change that. So let's go to the Excel and first change it. So this is expected title, right? And this expected title is basically orange HR, right? Orange HR. And this is, let's say, some dummy values because we are not going to anyways use that. So let's save it and then let's close this. Once this is done, you need to go to the test data and then you need to map it correctly. So here now we are going to read string value only and the val name is basically expected title. And this is expected test data dot expected title. So now the whole thing should happen automatically. Okay, let's try to run it now and check what's happening. So we are not writing any for loops. Okay, everything is taken care automatically by this library. Okay. Okay. Seem the test is still not getting picked. Let's go and check the test engine.xml. So homepage test is there, but it is not getting run. Quite strange. Okay. So I have done a very simple mistake that instead of telling, I want to, compare the test case name, right? So the test case name value should be, you know, this title validation test. I was doing username. So that's the issue. So whatever we have three values here, it was filtered down to 0. So your test is not able to run with any set of values. But now we have fixed that and it now we should return two values. Okay, let's try to run the test engine.xml. So these kind of things can happen. These are all very small issues, but yeah, hopefully we can fix them. So now the test is all running. So if you notice, two of them was picked. Again, if you want to run this test in parallel, even the data provider, then you can tell run in parallel equal to true. Okay. Okay. So all these tests will run in parallel. Okay. So now some of the tests are failing because that's more understandable, right? So we are running for two times and these are all failing. And the expected value is basically something that is getting wrong. So the expected title is something that is not read correctly. Okay, let's go and fix that. Expected title is in the, okay, this should be in string format, right? And the value should exactly match. So if it is capital letter, it has to be capital letter here, or we will follow very simple convention. We'll keep everything in small letters. Hey, I hear some noise. Please go on mute. Okay. So once this is all done, we can basically run it again. But this time we have also added, okay, we have also added parallel equal to true, which means this two values that is written from the data provider will be ran in parallel as well. Okay, let's try to run everything in parallel now. So three browsers got opened, okay, and all the tests are getting ran at the same time. Okay. This library, you can use it to read from CSV, YAML, JSON, everything. Okay, so just instead of just using XLX reader, if you want to read from CSV, you just need to write CSV reader. That's it. That's the only change you need to do. For each of the values in the CSV, you need to map it to the corresponding Pojo. Okay, and then you have to give the CSV path. Okay, that's it. Very, very simple library. You don't have to write a lot of code. Not many people know this, but yeah, you can leverage this and run your test in parallel. Any doubts so far?
So what do you mean by Pojo then?
Pojo means it's a class. Okay, so this is a class that is called as Pojo. Okay, if a class is having members only, okay, it doesn't do anything else. For example, this has only test case name, username, password, expected title. Okay, we have not exposed getter methods here. Maybe you can keep it as variable as private and then expose getters and setters. Then it will become Pojo. A Pojo is a simple class, plain old Java object. Okay, it's a very simple object that has only its members. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, so if you notice, this driver class is not having any members. It has different methods. Okay. So this is not a Pojo class. Pojo class is a very simple class that has only members or only members and getters and setters. Okay.
How
What
to
mean by
identify whether it is a Pojo class or I mean to say, if it is a class means we can able to see C icon. If it is a interface means I icon. If
No,
it
no,
is
that generally we cannot do. See,
okay.
Pojo is just a type of class. Okay, that's it. So it is also a class. It's a class. Okay, it's a valid class. Okay, but it has only members and getters and setters. Okay, it does not do anything else. Okay, only apart from holding some data. Okay, it's a plain old Java object. Okay, it is used for serialization and deserialization and all that. But yeah, I don't want to confuse you guys because that's used in REST assured. When you are trying to learn about REST assured, you can learn that. Okay. Anything else?
Rothan, for this, the utility which you told just now, we are going to create a like common utility which we like so that we can, because in the Excel what we have created things.
Yeah, we are going to do that. We are going to do that next. So what we are doing is now currently with this hard coded. Okay. If you guys notice this, we are hard coding here. Okay. So this data provider can only now be used with this particular test case,
Test case.
right? So what we are going to do, we know that we have something called as, so let's rename this again. We have something called as reflection. Okay. Using reflection, we can get the from the java.lang.reflect, we can get the test case name at the runtime. Okay, what is this test case name? The method dot get name will give me the test case name. Okay, now
Okay.
this data provider is applicable for all the sorry, it can be reused for all the test cases. Okay, so first let's check whether this is working. Okay, we have made some changes. We need to check whether this is working. So if it is launching 3 browsers, then it's absolutely fine. Okay, so then it is all working fine. Okay, now I want to use this for the payment test also. Okay, not just for the homepage test, for the payment test, for all the tests. Okay, in my framework, I want to use the same data provider. Okay, but if you want to use it differently, you can also use it differently. But in my case, I want to use the same one. Okay, so let's cut it and keep it in a place where it is common for everyone. So what I'm going to do, I will basically use new class inside this data provider utils. Okay, I have created data provider utils, and let's create a class or just paste this method. Okay, that's it. Is more than enough. Once you create this in your class everywhere, now we are telling get data. But this get data, if it is in the current class, it can identify. But if it is in different class, it cannot identify. At the time, what you need to do, you need to tell data provider class where this class is located. This class is located in data provider utils dot class. Okay, that's it. Now this will automatically know, okay, I need to go to this particular class and search for this particular method to get the data provider value. Okay, it's, now it will go here and then fetch it. Same way for the payment test also, I want to get it from the data provider. Okay, then you can just tell the rate data provider equal to get data and data provider data provider class equal to data provider utils dot class. Okay, you can run like. Okay. Once you do this, it will basically return test data. Okay, it will feed you this. With this value, you can do anything, but in my case, I'm not doing anything with this. I'm just hard coding this value. Okay, so this particular set of test data will this test will not run because we don't have an entry for this particular test case name. So what we can do, we can just copy this test 2. This is test 2. Okay, then the test 2 will be ran with one data. If you want more values for this particular test 2, you can also add them. Okay, that's it. Once you can save this. Okay, everything looks fine, right? Let's try to run the test engine.xml. This time also it should run without any issues. Okay, everything is basically working fine. Homepage is ran 2 times, homepage test. Payment test is ran 1 time. Okay, good. Now, what else we are going to do? We have created the code and all that, that's fine. Hopefully you all have created a GitHub, okay, GitHub repository. So let's say this is my GitHub. You all would have created your GitHub account by this time. Okay, now we have made some changes. Okay, yesterday I have pushed the code here, right? Today we have added few more changes. Okay, you have just cloned it. Now we will also see how we can push the code, how we can add new files and then push the code and all to this. Because if you guys need to access my latest code in my machine, I need to put it to a centralized place where you can access this, right? Maybe in the GitHub repository. That's where we are going to push the code. Okay, now let's go here. And if you notice, we are not, see, you can do this via command line. Okay, you can go to command line, you can do all that. But from the IntelliJ, it is very, very easy. Okay, as a beginners, you start to do with from IntelliJ. Okay, so that you can do. There are tools like Git Kraken, source tree. There are a lot of other tools which can help you to push the code. But most of the editors like IntelliJ, Eclipse, they all comes with their own source control system. Okay, you can use them to push the code. For now, let's create a new project. Okay, I'll tell you guys how we can do this. So I'll create a new project. Let's say it's a Maven project, Git demo. So the name of this project is Git demo, and I will create it in a new window. So I have a project here, and let me also create a dummy file. Okay, let's create new class called as com.s.demo test. Okay, so demo test, I have just a main method that basically is out welcome, something like this. Okay, so we have very, very simple file. Okay, now I want to share this code. Okay, don't think the number of files and all that, but for it's going to remain constant if the file is 1 or 100. Okay, the change is going to be same. Now what I have to do, I have to push this code to this particular repository. The first thing that you have to do is either you can create the repository here. Okay, you can create a repository and then you can put it, or you can ask the GitHub, sorry, the IntelliJ itself to create a repository here. Okay, so for that you can go to VCS and then you can tell share project on GitHub. Okay, this will automatically grow and create the project for you. Okay, instead of you going there, creating new repository, giving the repository name, typing all this, okay, and then you can choose create repository. Instead of all that, it will help you to create a repository. Okay, now what I'm going to do first, let's create from here. Okay, let's say this is Git demo repository. Okay, this is a demo repo, whatever we can type. Okay, and public means anyone can in the internet can access this. Okay, if it is private, you can decide who need to access, who cannot access. Okay, based upon the email ID that you have signed up. Okay, let's say this is a project by Amudan and I want to share this with Prince. Okay, if in the private repository, what I can do, there is a way where I can add members and then give Prince email, so that Prince alone can add code or commit code to this repository. Okay, we will come to what is a readme file. because README file is a place where you can define how to work with this framework, all the details about this framework and all you can add in this file. Okay, and we will come to the git ignore at the later point of time. Even the license, we don't need this. Okay, we will just tell create repository. Okay, once we create the repository, see it is telling you, hey, you can push the code to this particular URL. This is the place where your repository is created. If you push the code here, anyone can access this. Okay, if you want to push it from the command line, you can do all these things. Okay, but this is really complicated for now because you're all getting started. So we will use, at the end of the day, we need to push the code. That's it. Okay, we don't care what tools we use. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to say, hey, I want to basically share this on GitHub. Okay, but what I can say is create a Git repository. Okay, in this particular folder, that's fine. Okay, now I need to push this code to that particular repo. Okay, this particular repo, right? So now let's click on here and then let's go to the bottom. Here there is something called as manage remote. Remote means the URL location. Okay, so I'm going to create, okay, a URL as this URL. Let's copy this URL, put it here, and then click on OK. Click on OK. Once you do this, it can automatically understand, okay, this particular code, I need to push it to this repository. Okay, now let's take a paint and then just do a simple comparison. Okay, now this is your code. Okay, this is your machine code, your laptop. Okay, this is your laptop. Okay, and this is the cloud. You want to push this. Okay, cloud means this is a URL endpoint. Okay, you need to push from here to here. Okay, you need to push from here to here. But the thing is, okay, if you directly push like this, okay, then if the cloud is not available, okay, then you don't have any copies to get or pull it from. So this is called a centralized version control. Bitbucket and Subversion uses this, but in Git we use something differently. Okay, we have a distributed thing. Okay, we will have a code base here in our local itself. Okay, we call it this as a you know uh, this is your local code base. Okay, and then we'll also have something called a staging area. Okay, so whatever the code, so let's say you want to send a courier to your friend. Okay, what you do, you choose all the files, you choose all the materials that you want to courier. You will keep it in your door, right, in your door, so that when the courier guy comes, you can directly hand it over to him. You will be get it prepared before you ship it to the your friend, right? So this particular stage is called a staging. Okay, so what we are going to do, we're going to do that. Okay, first we're going to tell git commit. Okay, now it will ask you what and all files you want to transfer. Okay, let's go here, click on this, and it's telling there are a lot of files. Okay, this is really confusing. If there is a bigger folder structure, it will be even more confusing. So what you can do, you can click on this particular 4 dots, and then you can tell directory wise. Now this is same like your directory. Okay, so this directory structure is also here. Okay, now I don't need this .idea file. That idea means it's an IntelliJ thing. We don't need to share it with others. Okay, this is not needed. So I need to share this folder and this pom.xml. These are the two files that I need to share. Okay, and then I can tell uh, this is my first commit. Okay, okay, and I can just tell commit. Now it is telling, hey, I have analyzed 2 issues. That's why you want to. Oh no problem. Commit anyway. Okay, commit anyway. Now what happens is these two files, the file that pom.xml and this file is now moved to the staging area. Okay, this is now committed. Okay, this is now in the local repository. Okay, when you are adding a file, it will be here in the staging area. When you have committed, the committed changes are like let's say this is your prod code. Okay, and then this is your UAT code. It will be very similar, right, to your prod. So this is the exact copy of our code in the cloud. Okay, if there is something problem with the cloud, we will use this code. Okay, we will use this code to retrieve the versions and all that. Okay, so we have moved to staging, we have committed the code. Now it's time to push the code to the cloud. Okay, it's time to send the courier to your friend. Okay, now for that you can just type git and then git push. Now we are pushing the code. It is telling, hey, you are trying to push, okay, from this branch to the main branch. Okay, and then the commit, whatever commit you have done, there is only one commit, and this is done by, David. This is my sister's name, you ignore it. But yeah, and here if you notice, these are two files you are trying to move. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Just push it. Now we have basically pushed the main to new branch origin main. So let's come to the branch later point of time, but for now just understand we have pushed our code here. Okay, all our code, that is the pom.xml that we have, and the code that we wrote is all here. Okay, now let's also create one more project, and instead of we creating this repository manually, let the IntelliJ create it for us. Okay, let's go here and let's create on a new project. This project is basically Maven, and I'm going to say git demo 2. Okay, this I'll create it in this window. Okay, problem. This time I can just simply say VCS share project on GitHub. So I'm just trying to share the project on GitHub. So it is now asking me what is the GitHub repository name. Previous time when we created a new repo, it is asked you what is repository name. This guy is also asking that. What is the remote? It's an origin. So we call it as origin. Whatever the URL, the endpoint and all, we will call it as a origin. Okay, just a alias name. Okay, it's like calling Omudana Samu. Okay, if we are going to call this endpoint URL or this cloud location as origin. Okay, and what is the description? This is a dummy description. And then we click on share. Whether if you want a private repository, you just check this. But for now, I want to keep it as a public one. So I just click on share. Now, if you notice, it is asking me what are all files you want to send. I don't want this folder. I only want pom.xml. Maybe if you have another file, you can also add that. For now, the pom.xml is enough. What is the commit message? That's fine. Click on add. So now successfully shared a project on GitHub, Git demo 2. Let's go here. Notice this is automatically understood. Okay, it has automatically created me the project, and then it has pushed the code here. If you notice, this is the commit ID. Okay, the reason why it could do this, in your case, it might not directly do it. It will ask you to, when you click on GitHub or manage, all that thing. If you say share project on GitHub, it will ask you to log in. Okay, you have to log in with your username and password. Then only it will recognize on which repository it has to log in. It has to create the repository. Okay, in your case, it may be two-step. In my case, it is directly doing. So this is how you can push the code to this place. Okay, let's say if you are doing some changes, I want to pull the code. Okay, then you can just tell if somebody else, let's say somebody else has created some code here. Okay, let's say I will do add a file. I'll create a new file. Let's say I'll create a new file as ABCD, and then okay, let's name this file as abcd.txt. It's just a txt file. Okay, it can be Python file, it can be Java file, anything. All are same files. Okay, now I have added a new file. Okay, now this is added by, let's say, Prince. I have added this and pushed it to this particular point. Now I need to use this txt file and then do some comparison or do something. Okay, then I need to pull this latest code to my repository. So what I can do, I can go here. I can tell git pull. Now it is telling which one, okay, you want to pull. So I am going to execute git pull command on this branch. Okay, the branch name is main here. Okay, so if you notice, this is a branch name, that is main. So it is, we are trying to pull it. So now if you notice, the abcd.txt is here. Okay, so this is how we can pull the code. If someone else is pushing, we can pull it into our code base, and then we can use this to write some logic. Okay, so now let's come to what is branching. Okay, guys, in real world, okay, what happens, you cannot keep only one branch, okay, you cannot keep. So there is something called as main branch, okay, this is your main code base, okay. So assume this is your main code base, main code base. This is in production, okay. Let's say you want to do some testing and all that, you cannot directly pull this code, do some operation, because if you do something miss, if you missed your code, if you try to push, you have pushed the wrong code, what happens? You cannot do anything, right? That's why what people do, they will take a copy of this branch, okay, they will take a copy of this branch, okay, and then they will create a new branch, okay. Let's say this is a develop branch, okay, something like this. This is a develop branch, okay. So this develop branch is having same code like this. And after that, what they will do, each of the developers, let's say developer one, he is called as D1, okay. He will create a new branch for him, okay. So this branch is called as Amudan, okay, or developer one branch, okay, or whatever the name of the functionality that he is working on. Once he do this, okay, once he do this, he will push the code to this particular branch, okay, to the develop branch, okay. Then 2 or 3 developers will try to check his code, whether this is code quality is good, whether he wants to optimize something and all that, and then they will merge it to the developer. Same way, there will be D2, developer 2, right? So the developer 2 is also taken a branch from developed, and then he's written some code, and then he will merge it to the developer, okay. Once everyone is merged and the code is ready, what these guys do, they will push it to the main branch. Okay, everything is ready, code quality check is done, application is ready, then they will push it to the main branch. They will deploy that to the production. Okay, if there is some problem, they will fix it. They will take a branch. They will take a branch called as defect branch. Somebody will work on it, and then they will, push the branch to the developer. Okay, so branches are nothing but a different state of code. Okay, the main branch will normally have the main code, that is the code that is tested, work defined, that needs to be shipped to production. Okay, there can be a lot of other branches. Different teams follows different approaches, but most of the teams will have develop branch, and they will develop their code based on functionality, and then they will push it to the develop branch. Okay, here whenever we are trying to push, it is asking you which branch you want to push. Okay, but for now there is only one branch, we are playing around that. But in real time there will be more branches. At the time we can push, when you are pushing, you can tell I want to push it to this particular branch. Okay, now let me push. It is asking me, hey, you are trying to push from your local main branch, okay, to your origin. So that is your origin main branch. Origin means your remote main branch. This is what you want to do. Yes, I want to do. If you want to change, okay, if there is some other branch you want to push, then you can tell, let's say this is my develop branch, I want to push it to this. Okay, then I can tell, see, it is telling you are going to create a new branch. Is this what you want to do? Yes, I want to do that. So let's do that. So if you notice, there is a new branch called as develop that is, created. Let's try to check what is the branches now. So it is notice, it has basically created branches for me. There is a develop branch now that is having some code. Okay, so you want to add something. Let's say I made it to EFGH, and then I saved it, and then I just need to tell commit so that the new changes. So it can automatically understand you have made some changes to the abcd.txt. Okay, then I can tell change something in abcd.txt. Okay, and then you can click on commit, and you can commit and push. Okay, this is all done. So commit is done. So now I can basically say push. Now it is telling you have changed something in this. Commit is there. You want to push it. Yes, I want to push it, but I want to push it to which branch? I want to push it to develop branch. Okay, whatever. And then you can tell push. All these things you can do from command line, but command line is something that is little tricky to start with. So please start with these ideas. Okay, and now if you notice abcd.txt, so we have pushed this code to the this particular branch. Okay, now let's check. We have 2 branches, and it's telling, hey, develop had a recent push. Okay, and if you notice, this is a high, this particular version is the highest version, right? We have something that is higher than the main branch. So your main branch is basically having some less code. Okay. Uh, let's go to the paint and then we'll see. So now this has abcd and pom.xml. Okay, but the latest version is now available in your developer. Okay, this is where your developer is located. Now this I want to the abcd that is having 2 lines of code is the main code that we want to push to production. Now if you want to, you done your check, your code quality is done, your developers has reviewed this, now you want to push this code to this main code. Okay, now for that you cannot directly push it. Okay, first you need to create a pull request, so we call it as PR. Okay, because if you directly allow them, people can make mistakes. So what we are going to do, so we are trying to merge 2 branches. We are trying to merge the code from this branch to this branch. Okay, what are the changes? So what I'm going to do, we are going to do compare and pull request. Now it is asking, okay, what is the base branch? So main branch. From where you want to merge it? Okay, from develop. Okay, whatever the code, latest code in the develop, I want to merge it to this base branch. Okay, then we can tell added extra functionality, whatever functionality in abcd.txt. Okay, whatever the file you have, and then you can tell create pull request. Once you do this, okay, now in a real time world you can assign to this to another developers. They will review your code, they will see what is the files that you have changed. Okay, previously the file was abcd, this guy have added new functionalities. Okay, and he has made 1 commits. Okay, this is all fine. Okay, now everything looks fine. Okay, let me approve the pull request. Okay, so now you can tell just merge pull request. Okay, this guy is asking confirm merge. Okay, okay, that's fine. You merge these 2 branches. So pull request successfully merged and closed. Now we have merged our latest changes from the develop code to the main code. Then we don't need the develop branch, right? So now we have pushed this code here. Now we don't need this branch. If you want a new branch, we will take the latest from here. Okay. So now for now, we don't need this branch. We can go ahead and delete the develop branch. Okay. Now if you go to the code, so we have the abcd.txt that is having the latest code. The latest code is having 2 lines and there is only 1 branch now. Okay, we removed the second branch. So this is the latest code. Tomorrow we want to create new functionality, we create a new branch, we push our code, we create a pull request to merge it to the main branch, and then we push we merge it, and then we ship this particular code to the production. This I have explained with only one file, but this is applicable for all your files as well. For example, in the Selenium framework, okay, so if you notice whatever there in the test green color, which means these are all changes that you have done. Okay, this is an unversioned file. Okay, you don't want this file to be pushed to prod. Okay, so now you can also do git commit. It will tell me, hey, you have made changes to these files. What and all files you want to do? I will just arrange this in directory wise so that it is easy for me to understand. Okay, I want to move this file. I want to move this file as well, but I don't. Okay, this is all the files I want. Okay, I will also check unversioned files. Okay, there are 2 files that are missed. One is my testdata.xlx, which I need to push, so I will select this. There is also one more file that is data supplier test. If you don't want this, you don't check it, but maybe this will be helpful to you to read it. So I will also push this code. Okay, so the reporting part I don't need, so I am not pushing it because the report will occupy some space, so we don't need the reporting to be pushed, so I have ignored it. But if you want to push that, you can also push that. But for now I'll just still added data supplier library, something like this, and then I can commit. So now it is telling 7 files committed. Okay, now I can just push the code, and then push it. Now it is pushed to my origin main. So if I go to my GitHub and then Selenium framework, so I can just search Selenium framework. It will have my latest code. Okay, test.xml. Go here. So this is a test.xml that we have latest code. And in the SRC, if you notice, the comment is added data supplier, added 33 seconds ago, who have made this commit. Okay, in my machine, I have my sister's login configured, so it is using that, but in your case it will have your name. Okay, so yeah, this is how you can push the code to the this particular GitHub. Okay, now everyone can pull this code and then they can work on it. For doing all these things, you might also need to install Git on your machine. So for that, okay, Git install, Git download for Windows or Mac, whatever. You can just tell, and then whatever the commands that we are using, right? We are telling, okay, we are telling Git commit. We go here, we click on commit, which means it is, you can also actually do it in the terminal. Okay, you can go to command prompt and then you can tell Git commit, okay, -m, and then you can give the message. So message is added, data supplier, all that. Okay, but the problem is this is not a really good way to start with. Okay, don't do that. Start it from IntelliJ. If you want at the later point of time, you can learn the other way. Okay, the same way you can download for Git Windows. Okay, you just what kind of operating system you have, and then just it's a exe file. Just click on next, next, next. Everything will be set. Okay, good. So yeah, that's it, guys. If you stuck somewhere, just let me know. We will try to resolve the issues. Okay. Yeah. Any other doubts you can ask me now.
I have.
Yeah.
Amudan, like suppose like I raise a merge request, and in that main branch they have a different code, and my branch I have also some code. So if my conflicts will come, who will resolve? Like a
Who will
developer
resolve?
who is,
So
yeah, even
it is different. It is different from team to team. In some team, the senior developers will resolve the merge conflicts. Whoever
okay.
is really good at patience, because if we have a lot of conflicts, okay, you are also say what a conflict means. Maybe I'll tell that. Let's say A B C D F G H. I also made the change. Then there is a one more developer who also done E F G I. Okay. Now in the real world, there is the E F G H and E F G I. Now senior developer has to tell, hey, whether I need to put I here or H here. Okay, he has to decide, and then he will do the adjustment himself, and then he will push it. Okay, this is called as merge conflicts. Okay, you don't know, our Git cannot resolve something on its own. Okay, Git is very smart. Okay, previously we added a file, we added a change here. It understood there is a change here. Then we, but if there is change in the, in the same file, same place, okay, it doesn't know which this one is correct or this one is correct. At the time, it will tell, hey, I cannot merge because there is a conflict. You have to resolve this. I am not sure what you want to do. At the time, the senior developer or someone who is really experienced or having a lot of patience, he will sit on this and then he will tell, okay, this is not correct. This one of the developer is not correct. This is correct. You put this code. Okay, so he will decide what is the right file, and then he will push the code. Again, you are all getting started, so don't worry about what is Git rebase and all that. So this is a very basic steps. Just get started. Try to start pushing the codes, pulling the code from the repository, create branches, make commit messages. Okay, just slowly learn it. Okay, don't try to jump on this. It's a very gradual process. Okay, you Git, if you stuck somewhere, people are there to help you out, so don't worry about Git. Okay, so yeah, any other doubts?
What do you mean by cherry picking on that?
Cherry picking. Cherry picking and all is let's say you have made a lot of commits. Okay, so here we have done some commits. Okay, if you want to see the commits, okay, you can go here and then tell git log, git history will be there. Show git log. So if you notice, I have made 3 commits. First, I have made initial commit, then abcd.txt, then abcd.txm commits I have done. Same way, let's go to the bigger framework, senior framework. Here, let's go here, show git log. So notice I have made these commits. Okay, you have made 15 commits, but you want to only pick only 3 or 4 among them. Okay, you don't not want all of them. Okay, then you can do right click, and then there will be an option to do cherry pick. Okay, cherry picking means you have a lot of things. Okay, cherry picking means you have a lot of commits. Okay, you have made 15 or 10 commits, but you want to only 2 or 3 commits let's say some functionality is now your client is asking immediately, I want to get go with this functionality to prod, then only that particular functionality related commits alone you will push, cherry pick. Okay, you will choose this. Okay, you will choose these 3 commits and then you will create a branch out of it, and then you will push it to the branch. Okay, so this is called as cherry picking. But don't do all these things for now. You're getting started, just go step by step. Okay, don't try to do a lot of things. Okay, anyways, if you stuck somewhere, you can always Google, and then Google will help you. Okay, don't worry about all that. So anything else?
So when do we use this YAML file, Amadan?
Yeah, YAML file.
Yeah.
YAML file is normally used in Docker Compose. Okay, we haven't covered that, but you can also use it in a replacement for your JSON. Instead of JSON, you can use YAML.
It looks like the same. Like
It's almost same, yeah. But the thing is, in YAML, you have to be spaces has to be maintained properly. Okay, it's like a Python code. You have to give proper spaces, otherwise it won't work. Okay. But yeah, it is more simple than the JSON itself. So you can basically try that as well. You can just put YAML tutorial in Google. You can get a lot of videos. Okay, don't worry too much. It's just another file. Okay, it's like a TXT file, Excel file, Word file. It's another file. That's
okay. Thank you.
okay, guys. I think I will stop it. I have to go. We will connect tomorrow. We will, work with Jenkins. So for that, please go to this Jenkins download for Windows or Mac, whatever you have, and then you can basically go there. And so if you have different versions, you can use that. But in where is the war file? So there is a download Jenkins for war file. It's generic Java war file. You can basically download for your Windows, right? So you can download this. I think this is the latest version. That may not be enough for you. So we are okay with this version. If you want the latest version, you can also do that. Maybe this version can have some bugs. Okay, so you can download for your Windows. It will download a war file. I already have that with me. So I have the Jenkins.war file with me. It will be like this. So just download this alone. Tomorrow we will configure Jenkins and see how we can do with that. Okay, that's all, guys. You all have a very good day. Until then, Tata, bye bye. Bye.